Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Be Wiser Today. This is the space, your space, where we come together to understand that wisdom, true wisdom, isn't just something we find in books or hear in passing. Oh no, it's something we actively cultivate, something we choose to live by, breathe by, each and every single day of our lives. It's about making those conscious choices that elevate our experiences and our understanding of the world around us, and most importantly, the world within us. We're here to grow together, to learn together, and to become wiser, starting right now, in this very moment. You know, when we step into our places of work, whether it's a bustling office tower, a creative studio, the floor of a busy shop, or even our home office connecting us to a team miles away, we enter a world brimming with all kinds of energy, all kinds of spirits. It's a microcosm of life itself, isn't it? You'll find those wonderful souls who lift you higher, who see your light and reflect it back even brighter. Then there are those who challenge you, pushing you to grow in ways you never imagined. And then, my friends, then there are others. Others who, often in the quietest of ways, begin to harbor a sense of resentment, a discomfort with your very essence. Now, it's so important to understand this. This resentment, this quiet envy, it's rarely, if ever, because you've done something to intentionally cause them harm or offense. More often than not, it's because you shine. Yes, you heard me right. You radiate a certain light, a competence, a joy, a success that they themselves haven't yet figured out how to cultivate, or perhaps even more poignantly, how to simply accept and appreciate in another human being. Your brilliance can sometimes illuminate their own perceived shadows, and that, my dears, can be a very uncomfortable place for someone to be. So today, we're going to delve into one of the most delicate, one of the most uncomfortable, yet absolutely crucial dynamics to recognize in our professional lives: the presence of the envious coworker. Envy, you see, it doesn't often announce itself with trumpets and fanfare. Oh no, it's a silent operator. It's subtle, it's insidious, and if we're not aware, if we don't approach it with clear eyes and a wise heart, it has the power to slowly, steadily create an environment that feels unhealthy, unsupportive, and yes, sometimes even downright toxic. So the question becomes, how do we spot it? And even more critically, how do we respond in a way that safeguards our precious peace of mind, our inner calm, without dimming our own light or losing sight of our purpose? Let's walk this path together, exploring 9 clear signs and then the wisdom to navigate through it. All right, let's talk about the very first sign, a sign that can sometimes feel like a little paper cut to the soul, especially when you've poured your heart and effort into something truly meaningful. This is when they actively, though often subtly, downplay your success. Imagine this. You've just completed a challenging project, you've hit a significant milestone, or perhaps you've received a little bit of well-deserved recognition. You're feeling that natural sense of pride, that quiet hum of accomplishment. And then, just as you're about to share your joy or bask in the moment, their reaction, their words land with a thud, deflating that beautiful balloon of achievement. It's a distinct feeling, isn't it? That sense of your success being brushed aside, minimized, or made to seem less significant than it truly is. Now, how exactly does this downplaying manifest itself? Oh, it can wear many clever disguises, my friends. You might hear comments like, "Oh, that was just a bit of good luck, wasn't it?" Or perhaps, "Well, the conditions were perfect for that to happen," subtly implying that your skill or hard work wasn't the primary factor. Sometimes it's a dismissive, "Oh, that? Yes, well, anyone could have managed that if they'd had the same resources." These aren't outright attacks, you see. They are far more nuanced, designed to chip away at the perceived value of your accomplishment, to plant a tiny seed of doubt, not just in the minds of others, but sometimes, if we're not careful, even in our own. It's the art of the subtle dismissal, making your triumphs feel ordinary, even when they are anything but. And then, there's the ever-popular backhanded compliment, a true masterclass in veiled negativity. This is when they say something that, on the surface, sounds like praise, but carries an underlying sting, a hidden critique. "Wow, that report was actually quite good for someone at your level," they might say, or, "Congratulations on the presentation, I was surprised you pulled it off so smoothly considering." Or perhaps it's the classic, "That's a nice achievement, but have you considered how much better it could have been if you'd only done X, Y, or Z?" It's praise wrapped in criticism, a gift with sharp edges, designed to make you feel simultaneously acknowledged and diminished. It's a way for them to offer the bare minimum of social pleasantry, while still satisfying their need to lessen your shine. And if, just if, you ever dare to gently question these remarks or show even a hint of being unsettled by them, what's the go-to defense? "Oh, I was just joking. Can't you take a joke?" This, my dears, is a classic deflection tactic. They use perceived humor as a shield, a way to deliver their jab and then absolve themselves of any responsibility for the impact of their words. It allows them to say something undermining and then paint you as overly sensitive if you react. But let's be clear, these aren't just harmless quips. These are microaggressions, little verbal pricks that, over time, can truly affect your confidence and your enthusiasm if you don't recognize them for what they are, a reflection of their envy, not your worth. So let's peel back the layers a little further, shall we? Let's try to understand the heart of why someone, a colleague, someone you might even share a coffee with, would feel the need to downplay your hard-earned success. It's rarely about you, truly it isn't. It's almost always deep down about them. It's about their own insecurities, their own fears, their own sense of inadequacy perhaps. When they see your light shining brightly, it can sometimes cast a harsh glare on the areas where they feel they're falling short. So diminishing your success becomes a way, a rather unfortunate way, for them to try and level the playing field in their own mind, to make themselves feel a little bit better, a little less threatened by your achievements. These comments, these dismissals and backhanded compliments, they can take on so many different forms, can't they? Sometimes, it's the faintest of praise, so lukewarm you barely register it as positive. "Oh, that's nice," they might say, with an inflection that speaks volumes of disinterest. Other times they might skillfully divert the attention away from your accomplishment and onto someone else entirely. Or perhaps they'll immediately pivot to discussing a perceived flaw or a minor issue within your success, magnifying it until it overshadows the achievement itself. Yes, you closed the deal, but did you see the dip in Q2 projections? It's a constant, subtle redirection away from your moment of triumph, designed to keep you from fully owning it. And what is the cumulative effect of all this, if we're not vigilant, if we allow these remarks to seep into our spirit? Well, it can begin to erode your motivation, can't it? It can make you question your abilities, wonder if your efforts are truly valued, or if you're perhaps overestimating your own contributions. This is why it is so profoundly important to recognize these behaviors for what they are, a reflection of their internal landscape, their struggles, their envy. It is not, I repeat, it is not a true measure of your talent, your hard work, or your worthiness of success. You must hold on to that truth deep within your soul. Think about the broader impact within a team, within an organization. When these kinds of interactions become commonplace, when success is met with subtle sabotage rather than genuine celebration, it creates an undercurrent of unhealthy competition. It fosters an environment where people might become hesitant to shine too brightly for fear of attracting this kind of negative attention. It chips away at trust, at camaraderie, at the very collaborative spirit that allows teams to achieve truly great things together. It's like a slow-acting poison, subtly degrading the health and vitality of the workplace culture, one minimized achievement, one backhanded compliment at a time. Now, let's move on to the second sign, and this one can feel particularly unsettling, almost like a quiet theft in broad daylight. This is when you notice your coworkers starting to copy you, your ideas, your methods, your style, even your carefully crafted words. But they do so without ever offering a shred of credit, without any acknowledgement of where that brilliance originated. It's that strange, disorienting feeling when you see or hear something you know deep down came from you, now being presented by someone else as if it were entirely their own creation. It can make you pause, can't it? Make you question what you just witnessed. That initial moment of realization can be filled with such a mix of emotions. Confusion, certainly, perhaps a touch of disbelief, and yes, often a sense of profound disappointment. Wait a minute, you might think, that turn of phrase, that was mine from our meeting last Tuesday. Or, that innovative solution they just proposed? I shared the blueprint of that with them over coffee just last week. It's a violation, isn't it? A violation of that unspoken code of professional integrity, a disregard for the intellectual or creative effort you invested. It's seeing your spark, your ingenuity mirrored back at you, but from someone else's lamp, with no mention of the original flame. And often, this pattern of imitation doesn't just appear overnight, fully formed. It frequently begins in very subtle ways, almost imperceptibly at first. They might start by borrowing a small, distinctive phrase you often use. Then perhaps they'll adopt a particular methodology you've developed for tackling complex tasks. Soon you might notice them echoing your presentation style or your way of framing arguments. It's as if they are gradually testing the waters, seeing what they can absorb from you, what they can replicate, and how much they can claim as their own without being directly challenged. Each small, uncredited imitation paves the way for larger appropriations. The pain of this experience, let me tell you, it doesn't just stem from the lack of credit, though that certainly stings. It's more profound than that. It's about the inherent lack of acknowledgement, the feeling of your contributions being silently absorbed and then paraded by another, rendering your own originality invisible. It's like your voice is being used, but your name is never spoken. This can be incredibly disheartening, especially when you've put so much of yourself, your creativity, and your dedication into your work, only to see it become a feather in someone else's cap without so much as a nod in your direction. So let's explore this a little deeper. Why does this happen? What motivates a colleague to engage in this unspoken theft of ideas, this quiet appropriation of another's intellectual property? Sometimes it might stem from a genuine lack of their own original thought, a deficit in their own wellspring of creativity, leading them to latch onto the brilliance of those around them. Other times, it could be a desperate, misguided attempt to gain favor with superiors, to climb the ladder by presenting polished, proven ideas as their own, hoping to bask in the reflected glory. And in some instances, sadly, it can be a more deliberate, strategic act to undermine you, to diminish your standing by co-opting your successes before you have a chance to claim them yourself. The impact of this behavior on you, the original thinker, the innovator, can be quite significant. It can make you understandably hesitant to share your nascent ideas openly in team settings or brainstorming sessions. You might find yourself becoming more guarded, more protective of your insights, which, while a natural defense mechanism, can inadvertently stifle the very collaborative spirit that often fuels true innovation and progress within a team. It's a delicate balance, isn't it? Wanting to contribute freely, yet also needing to protect your intellectual contributions from being silently commandeered. This erosion of trust can be incredibly damaging to the creative process. And how do these individuals rationalize this behavior to themselves? Oh, the human mind is incredibly adept at self-deception when it needs to be. They might tell themselves, well, it was really a team effort anyway, even if you were the sole architect of the concept. Or they might convince themselves, I just built upon their initial thought. I added the real value, conveniently forgetting that the foundational idea, the core spark, was entirely yours. This internal narrative allows them to sidestep the ethical implications of their actions, to continue their mimicry without the discomfort of acknowledging its true nature. It's the self-deception that often accompanies envy, the sheer frustration of witnessing someone else receive praise, accolades, or even tangible rewards for your ingenuity, your hard work, your unique perspective. That is a heavy burden to carry. It's a silent form of workplace plagiarism, and because it's often subtle and incremental, it can be incredibly difficult to call out without appearing petty or overly sensitive. Yet the feeling of your intellectual labor being exploited, of your creative children being adopted by another without your consent, is profoundly disheartening and can leave you feeling unseen and undervalued, despite your very visible contributions. Have you ever walked into a room, a meeting, or even just the break area and felt an invisible wall go up? That sudden hush, the averted gazes, the feeling that a conversation paused just as you arrived and won't resume until you depart. This, my friends, is the chilling reality of exclusion in the workplace. It's not always a loud declaration. Often it's a whisper, a shadow, a deliberate act of omission that speaks volumes. It's being left off an email chain that's crucial to your project, or discovering that a key decision was made in a meeting you weren't invited to. It's the subtle, yet deeply painful message that you're on the outside looking in, and it can make even the most confident soul begin to question their place, their value. Now, why would someone choose to exclude a colleague, you might ask? Oh, the reasons can be as varied and complex as human nature itself. Sometimes it stems from a place of deep insecurity within the excluder. Perhaps your competence, your light, makes them feel threatened, and pushing you away is their misguided attempt to regain a sense of control or superiority. Other times it's about power dynamics, a way to subtly signal who's in and who's out, creating cliques that can stifle collaboration and breed resentment. It can be a calculated move to limit your access to information or opportunities, thereby hindering your progress. Understanding this doesn't excuse the behavior, but it can help us see it for what it often is, a reflection of their own struggles, not a true measure of your worth. Think about the ways this exclusion can manifest, often so subtly that you might even second-guess yourself. It's the team lunch you only hear about afterwards, the inside jokes that fly over your head because you weren't part of the originating conversation. It's the project updates that mysteriously bypass your inbox, or the collaborative brainstorming sessions where your name is conspicuously absent from the invite list. These aren't just accidental oversights when they happen repeatedly. They are patterns of behavior designed to isolate. It's the feeling of being invisible, even when you're standing right there, trying your best to contribute and connect. This isn't just about missing out on a piece of cake in the break room. It's about being denied the chance to fully participate and belong. And what is the emotional toll of this slow, steady erosion of belonging? Oh, it can be immense. It chips away at your confidence, making you wonder, is it me? Did I do something wrong? This self-doubt can be incredibly corrosive, leading to feelings of isolation, anxiety, and even depression. When you're constantly questioning your standing, it's hard to bring your best, most authentic self to your work. The energy that should be going into your projects, your creativity, your growth, is instead spent navigating these painful dynamics, trying to understand why you're being kept at arm's length. It's a heavy burden to carry, and one that no one should have to endure in a place where they dedicate so much of their time and talent. When you are consistently left out of the loop, when vital information doesn't reach you, or when opportunities for development are subtly steered away from your path, it's not just your feelings that suffer. It's your professional growth that takes a significant hit. Imagine trying to navigate a complex project with only half the map. That's what it's like when you're excluded from key discussions or denied access to necessary resources. How can you shine? How can you innovate? How can you climb that ladder of success if you're not even given a fair chance to engage with the rungs? These aren't just missed meetings. They are missed chances to learn, to contribute at a higher level, to showcase your skills, and to be seen as a valuable player on the team. This is a silent career sabotage, and it's deeply unfair. And let's talk about the wider impact on the team and the entire organization. A workplace where exclusion is tolerated is a workplace where morale is bound to plummet. When one person is singled out and marginalized, it sends a chilling message to everyone else. This could happen to you. Trust erodes not just between the excluded individual and their colleagues, but amongst the entire team. People become more guarded, less willing to share ideas, less likely to collaborate openly and honestly. Productivity inevitably suffers because the collective energy is fractured, a significant portion of it diverted to navigating interpersonal conflicts and anxieties rather than focusing on shared goals. A team is only as strong as its most vulnerable member, and exclusion weakens the entire chain. The long-term effects of feeling like an outsider, of constantly battling this invisible barrier, can be profoundly damaging to your spirit and your career trajectory. It can lead to burnout, as you expend enormous emotional energy just trying to stay afloat in a seemingly unwelcoming environment. You might start to internalize the negativity, believing that perhaps you aren't good enough or that your contributions don't truly matter. This can create a cycle of disengagement where you pull back, not because you want to, but because you feel you have no other choice. Over time, this can impact your ambition, your passion for your work, and even your overall sense of self-worth. We spend so much of our lives at work. It should be a place that nurtures our potential, not diminishes it through such isolating tactics. Ultimately, fostering an inclusive environment is not just a nice-to-have. It is a fundamental responsibility of any healthy, thriving workplace. It's about recognizing that every single voice has value, that every perspective can contribute to a richer, more innovative whole. When organizations allow exclusion to fester, they are not only harming individuals, they are harming themselves, depriving themselves of the full spectrum of talent and creativity within their ranks. It's a call for leadership to step up, to cultivate a culture where everyone feels seen, heard, and respected, where the doors are open to all, not just a select few. Because true success, the kind that lasts, is built on a foundation of mutual respect and genuine collaboration. Now, I know it takes an immense amount of courage to confront a situation where you feel deliberately excluded. It's much easier sometimes to shrink back, to internalize the hurt, or to simply try and ignore it, hoping it will magically disappear. But let me tell you, your voice has power. Speaking up not in anger or accusation, but with clarity and professionalism, is often the first step towards reclaiming your rightful place. It's about honoring yourself enough to say, my contributions matter, my presence is valuable, and I deserve to be included. This isn't about being confrontational. It's about being assertive, about advocating for your right to participate fully and to be treated with respect. It's a declaration that you will not be made to feel invisible. So what are some practical steps you can take? First, begin to document. Keep a calm, factual record of instances where you've been excluded, missed meeting invites, information withheld, opportunities bypassed, dates, times, specific examples. These details are your allies. Then, choose the right moment to address the issue. Perhaps it's a one-on-one conversation with a supervisor, or if the exclusion comes from a specific colleague, a carefully considered discussion with them. Approach it with I statements focusing on how the exclusion impacts your work and your ability to contribute effectively. For example, I've noticed I wasn't included in the planning meeting for Project X, and I'm concerned this will affect my ability to deliver on my part. Professionalism is key here. It's about seeking solutions, not casting blame. While you navigate these conversations, continue to focus resolutely on your contributions and your inherent value. Let your work speak for itself, consistently delivering excellence and demonstrating your commitment. Sometimes the most powerful response to exclusion is to shine so brightly that they simply cannot ignore you. Seek out allies within the workplace, colleagues who value fairness and collaboration, mentors who can offer guidance and support. These relationships can provide a much-needed buffer against the negativity and can help amplify your voice when advocating for yourself. Remember, you are not alone in desiring a respectful and inclusive environment, and there are often others who will stand with you. And most importantly, my dear friends, never ever let someone else's decision to exclude you define your worth. Their behavior is a reflection of them, not of you. Nurture your self-validation from within. Remind yourself of your talents, your strengths, your accomplishments. Engage in activities outside of work that bring you joy and reinforce your sense of self. While it's important to address exclusion professionally, it's equally important to protect your inner peace and your self-esteem. Your journey, your growth, your success, these are yours to own and cultivate, regardless of the petty games others might play. Stand tall in your truth and keep moving forward with grace and determination. We've talked about the chill of exclusion, but now let's turn our attention to something perhaps even more insidious, because it's so often cloaked in a veneer of normalcy or even helpfulness. I'm talking about the coworker who subtly undermines you. This isn't the outright loud critic. Oh no, this is far more nuanced, more like a slow, almost imperceptible leak designed to deflate your confidence and erode your credibility over time. It's the art of the stealth attack, where the arrows are so cleverly disguised that you might not even realize you've been hit until you start to feel the sting. This behavior is particularly damaging because it's so hard to pinpoint, so easy to dismiss as an overreaction on your part, making you question your own perceptions. Think about the ways this hidden sabotage can play out in your daily work life. It might be the colleague who forgets to pass on a crucial piece of information just before your big presentation, leaving you scrambling and appearing unprepared. Or perhaps it's the one who offers what sounds like praise, but it's laced with a backhanded comment that subtly plants a seed of doubt in the minds of others. Something like, "That was a great effort, especially considering you're still new to this type of project." It can be the constant, low-level questioning of your decisions, framed as just trying to understand, but really designed to make you second-guess yourself and appear less competent. These are not accidental missteps. They are calculated maneuvers by someone who feels threatened by your success. The truly deceptive nature of undermining lies in its ability to make you feel like you're the one who's off kilter. Because the actions are often small, seemingly insignificant on their own, you might hesitate to call them out. You might think, am I being too sensitive? Am I imagining things? This self-doubt is precisely what the underminer often hopes to achieve. They want you to question your judgment, to lose your footing, because it makes it easier for them to maintain a perceived advantage. It's a psychological game, and a deeply unfair one, designed to chip away at your professional standing without leaving any obvious fingerprints. It's like shadowboxing with an opponent you can't quite see clearly. And what fuels this behavior, this desire to subtly trip you up? More often than not, it's that familiar green-eyed monster jealousy. When someone sees your light, your talent, your growing success, and they feel a lack within themselves, they might resort to these underhanded tactics to try and dim your shine, to level the playing field in their own mind. They may not have the courage or the character to compete openly and fairly, so they choose the path of subtle sabotage, hoping to see you stumble so they can feel better about their own position. It's a sad commentary on their own insecurity, but it's a reality we must be prepared to recognize and navigate in the workplace. When you are consistently on the receiving end of subtle undermining, the impact on your ability to perform your job effectively can be profound. Imagine trying to build something magnificent when someone is quietly loosening the bricks at the foundation. It's exhausting, isn't it? You might find yourself double-checking information you receive from this person, constantly looking over your shoulder, or spending precious time and energy trying to anticipate their next move. This defensive posture, while understandable, diverts focus from your actual tasks and goals. Your creativity can be stifled, your decision-making can become hesitant, and your overall productivity can suffer as you grapple with this undercurrent of negativity and distrust. Beyond the individual impact, this kind of behavior sends ripples throughout the entire team, eroding the very fabric of cohesion and trust. When team members witness or sense that undermining tactics are at play, it creates an atmosphere of suspicion and unease. People may become reluctant to share ideas openly, fearing they might be twisted or used against them. Collaboration suffers because genuine partnership requires a foundation of mutual respect and psychological safety, both of which are shattered by undermining. Instead of a synergistic environment where everyone is pulling together, you get a fragmented, guarded group where individuals are more focused on protecting themselves than on achieving collective success. This is how a toxic culture begins to take root. Consider the sheer energy drain involved in constantly being on guard, in trying to decipher hidden meanings, and protecting yourself from these subtle attacks. This is energy that could be channeled into innovation, problem-solving, and personal growth. Instead, it's consumed by stress, anxiety, and the mental gymnastics of navigating a hostile interpersonal dynamic. It's like running a marathon with weights tied to your ankles. Over time, this constant vigilance can lead to burnout, cynicism, and a deep sense of dissatisfaction with your work, not because of the work itself, but because of the toxic environment created by one or more undermining individuals. No one should have to go to work feeling like they're entering a battleground of whispers and half-truths. And let's not forget the broader organizational costs when such behavior is allowed to persist. Companies that fail to address undermining tactics will inevitably see a decline in overall morale, an increase in employee turnover as good people leave to find healthier environments, and a hit to their reputation. Innovation stagnates when people are afraid to take risks or share novel ideas. The best talent will gravitate towards cultures that foster respect, integrity, and genuine teamwork. So it's not just an interpersonal issue, it's a bottom-line issue. Addressing and rooting out undermining behavior is crucial for any organization that truly values its people and its long-term success. So, how do you protect yourself when faced with someone who seems intent on subtly undermining your efforts and your reputation? My friends, your most powerful shield, your most unshakable defense, is your own unwavering integrity. When you operate from a place of honesty, transparency, and consistent ethical behavior, the subtle digs and manipulations of others begin to lose their power. Integrity is like a steady light that exposes the shadows, making it much harder for deceit to thrive. It's about building a reputation so solid, so grounded in truth, that the whispers of an underminer find no fertile ground in which to grow. This isn't about fighting fire with fire. It's about being the water that extinguishes their flame. How do you actively build and demonstrate this kind of integrity in your daily work life? It starts with being impeccable with your word, doing what you say you will do, and communicating openly and honestly, even when it's difficult. It means being transparent in your processes, sharing information appropriately, and giving credit where credit is due. Document your work meticulously. Keep clear records of communications and decisions, not out of paranoia, but as a standard professional practice. When you are consistent in your actions, when your character is clear for all to see, it becomes much harder for someone to paint a false narrative about you. Your consistent truth becomes your armor. Remember that building a reputation for integrity is a long game, a marathon, not a sprint. While an underminer might score a few fleeting points with their subtle tactics, a foundation built on truth and ethical conduct will ultimately withstand their attempts at sabotage. People over time see patterns. They notice who is consistently reliable, who is fair-minded, who operates with transparency, and who seems to thrive on drama or negativity. Your steadfast commitment to doing the right thing day in and day out will eventually speak louder than any rumor or insinuation. Trust that your consistent good character will shine through, and those who matter will recognize it. And as you navigate these challenging waters, make a conscious choice to rise above the negativity. Do not allow the underminer's tactics to drag you down to their level or to change who you are at your core. Focus on your own ethical conduct, on delivering excellent work, and on fostering positive relationships with those colleagues who do operate with integrity. Let your actions be a testament to your values. When you remain centered in your own truth and refuse to be swayed by the undercurrents of jealousy and manipulation, you not only protect yourself, but also set an example for others. You become a beacon of professionalism and strength. All right, let's talk about a moment that should be joyful, a moment of recognition for your hard work, but sometimes it gets a little, well, awkward. Picture this. Your boss singles you out in a team meeting for a job well done, or you receive a glowing email from a client that's shared with the group. You feel that warmth of pride, that satisfaction of accomplishment. But then you catch a glimpse of a particular coworker and something's off. Their smile doesn't quite reach their eyes, or perhaps they're a little too quick to change the subject. This, my friends, is often sign number 5. They are genuinely uncomfortable with your praise, and it's a telling indicator of underlying jealousy. What do these awkward reactions actually look like? Well, it can be a whole range of subtle and sometimes not so subtle behaviors. It might be that forced, tight-lipped smile we just talked about, or a congratulatory remark that feels flat and insincere. Perhaps they immediately try to downplay your achievement, saying something like, "Oh, anyone could have done that." Or they quickly pivot the conversation to their own accomplishments, or even a completely unrelated topic, as if your moment of recognition is something to be moved past as quickly as possible. Sometimes it's a conspicuous silence when everyone else is offering kudos, or a sudden need to check their phone or shuffle papers. These are the telltale signs that your shining moment is making them squint. Now, why would someone else's success, someone else's moment in the sun, make another person feel so visibly uncomfortable? It often boils down to that powerful and sometimes destructive emotion envy. When they see you being praised, it can trigger their own insecurities, their own feelings of inadequacy, or their own unmet ambitions. Your success, in their eyes, might inadvertently highlight what they perceive as their own failures or shortcomings. It's not really about, all right, now let's talk about something a little more subtle, something you might feel in your spirit before you can even name it. It's that coworker who seems to be running a race with you. But honey, nobody ever announced the starting gun. You walk into a room, and you can just sense it, can't you? A little shift in the energy, an undercurrent of unspoken competition. It's not out in the open, not with loud declarations, but it's there, simmering beneath the surface of everyday interactions, making you wonder if you're imagining things. But trust your intuition, because often, what you're picking up on is very, very real. This individual, bless their heart, might be watching your every move, not with the open heart of someone eager to learn or collaborate, but with the keen eye of a surveyor, constantly measuring. They're taking notes, not for inspiration, but for comparison, always trying to figure out how to stay just one tiny step ahead of you, even if they never say a word about it. It's like they're in a silent sprint, and you're the pacer they're desperately trying to outrun. Their gaze lingers a little too long on your successes, and you might notice them perk up when your name is mentioned, not always in celebration, but in calculation. Now let me be clear. This isn't that healthy, motivating kind of competition that can sometimes push us all to be better, to reach higher. Oh no, this is different. This kind of secret race is often born from a place of deep insecurity, a feeling within them that your light, your success, somehow casts a shadow on theirs, diminishing their own worth. In their mind, it's a zero-sum game. For them to win, they believe, you have to somehow be less. It's a painful way to live, constantly looking over your shoulder, constantly comparing, instead of focusing on their own unique gifts and path. And so, you might start to notice these little, almost imperceptible attempts to outdo you. Perhaps you take on a challenging project, and suddenly they're volunteering for something strikingly similar, or maybe even a little grander. Or you share an idea in a meeting, and soon after they present a variation of it, subtly trying to claim the more impressive ground. They might try to impress the same supervisors or clients, but always with a quiet intensity, a hidden agenda. It's a competition played out in whispers and shadows, not trumpets and fanfares, but it's a competition nonetheless. Living with this kind of silent, undeclared competition, well, it can be downright draining, can't it? You're not even officially in a contest. There's no trophy at the end, no finish line clearly marked, but you feel the pressure all the same. It's like you're shadow boxing with someone who refuses to actually step into the ring with you, throwing punches at an opponent who isn't fully acknowledging the fight. It creates this undercurrent of tension, this feeling of being constantly evaluated and measured, even when you're just trying to do your job and live your life with purpose and integrity. Think about it. Maybe they suddenly unveil a project that bears an uncanny resemblance to something you've been passionately working on, only theirs is positioned as just a little bit better, a little more polished, a little more innovative, or so they try to imply. Or perhaps you notice they start staying late at the office, but only on the nights when you're burning the midnight oil, a silent testament to their need to match or exceed your effort, all without a single word exchanged about it. It's these subtle maneuvers, these quiet power plays that can leave you feeling unsettled and questioning the sincerity around you. The real key here, the thing that makes it so insidious, is the secrecy. They don't want to appear openly competitive because that, my friends, would be an admission. It would expose the envy that often fuels such behavior. So everything is done under the cloak of ambition or dedication or simply doing their best. But if you look closely, if you listen to that still small voice within you, you'll often find that the underlying energy, the true target of all that effort, is you. They're not just trying to succeed, they're trying to succeed in relation to you. And let's be honest, when someone is operating from this space, their focus isn't truly on the collective good, is it? It's not about the team's victory or the organization's broader mission. Instead, their primary motivation becomes privately, secretly besting you. It's about that internal, often unacknowledged scoreboard they carry around, where the only points that matter are the ones that place them ahead of you. It's a lonely game they're playing, and ultimately, a self-defeating one, because true fulfillment never comes from trying to dim someone else's light. So now we get to the good part. The part where you reclaim your power, where you decide you're not playing their game. The most powerful, the most liberating thing you can do when faced with this silent competitor is to consciously, deliberately refuse to engage on their terms. You are not their rival. You are not defined by their need to measure up. You, my dear, are a contributor, a creator, a force for good in your own right, and that is where your true power lies. Let that sink in for a moment. I want you to really hear this. Your energy is precious. Don't waste it by getting drawn into their unspoken race. Instead, I encourage you with all my heart to focus on your own path, your own unique journey, your own divinely inspired goals. Pour your passion into the value you bring, the work that makes your spirit sing. Let your contributions be about excellence, about service, about purpose, not about trying to outshine or outmaneuver someone who is operating from a place of lack. When your intention is pure, your work will speak for itself, louder than any secret rivalry. If the opportunity arises and if it feels authentic, channel your energy into genuine collaboration. Sometimes extending a hand can shift the dynamic, but if that's not possible or not wise in your particular situation, then focus steadfastly on making significant, meaningful contributions that benefit the team, the project, the entire organization. This isn't about them anymore, it's about you and your impact. When you elevate your game to be about contribution, you shift the entire narrative from one of petty rivalry to one of profound value and leadership. And here's the beautiful truth. When you truly embody this spirit of contribution, their secret competition loses all its power over you. It's like they're playing chess, and you've started a game of basketball on a completely different court. You're operating on a higher frequency, playing a more fulfilling, more expansive game, one they simply cannot win by mimicking your moves or trying to secretly best you. Your light, you see, shines brightly from within, fueled by your own purpose. And that is something no secret competitor can ever truly diminish or replicate. Now we need to talk about something that can be particularly baffling, and let's be honest, deeply hurtful. It's when you find yourself dealing with a coworker whose envy doesn't just stop at your successes. Oh no, it extends even to your struggles, your challenges, your moments of vulnerability. It's a strange and unsettling phenomenon, isn't it? Like they're competing in some kind of misery Olympics, where the gold medal goes to whoever can claim the biggest burden, the heaviest load. It's a contest you never signed up for, and frankly, one nobody should ever want to win. Picture this. You share a minor challenge you're facing, perhaps a tough deadline is looming, or you're feeling a bit under the weather, or you're navigating a small personal setback. You're looking for a little understanding, maybe a moment of connection, a simple, "I hear you." But instead of empathy, what you get is an immediate counter-story, a tale of their own, even greater woe. It's as if they cannot bear for you to have the spotlight, even for a fleeting moment of shared human frailty. Your small rain cloud must always be eclipsed by their personal hurricane. Let's be very clear here. This isn't about a genuine sharing of experiences or a heartfelt attempt to build camaraderie through mutual support. Not at all. This is a twisted, distorted form of competition, a deep-seated need to diminish your experience by immediately trumping it with their own, often exaggerated hardship. It's as if your pain isn't valid unless it's measured against theirs, and theirs, of course, must always be deemed more significant, more dramatic, more worthy of attention. It's a subtle but powerful way of invalidating your feelings. And the impact of this behavior? Well, it can feel incredibly invalidating, can it? It can leave you feeling isolated, unheard, and even more burdened than before you spoke. You reach out, hoping for a little human connection, a bit of understanding, and instead, you're met with a competitive spirit that turns your vulnerability into a contest. It's a peculiar kind of one-upmanship that chips away at trust and makes you hesitant to share anything real, anything that truly matters, with that particular individual ever again. It teaches you, very quickly, that this is not a safe harbor for your heart. So why? Why would someone do this? Why would anyone feel the need to compete over who has suffered more? Well, as with so many of these challenging behaviors, it often stems from a profound, deep-seated insecurity. It's a desperate, sometimes subconscious cry for attention, for validation, for significance. If they can't outshine you in success, perhaps they believe they can garner sympathy or importance by having the most tragic story, by hijacking your moments of vulnerability and turning them into a platform for their own narrative of suffering. You've likely experienced it. You mention a nagging headache, and suddenly they launch into a detailed account of their chronic, debilitating migraines that have plagued them for years. You talk about a particularly busy and stressful week at work, and they immediately recount their entire month of sleepless nights, impossible deadlines, and overwhelming personal crises. It becomes this constant, exhausting game of comparison, where your experiences are merely a prelude to their far grander, more dramatic performance of hardship. It's a script they know well, and they're always ready for their cue. This pattern, this "my pain is greater than your pain" narrative, does something very damaging. It erodes trust at its very core. You learn sometimes the hard way that sharing your authentic struggles, your tender vulnerabilities with this person is simply not safe. It won't be met with the compassion or support you seek. Instead, your openness will likely be used as a springboard for their own performance, a chance for them to seize the stage and redirect the spotlight firmly back onto themselves and their perceived greater suffering. It's a painful lesson in discernment. And isn't there a profound irony in all of this? In their desperate attempt to make their own struggles seem more significant, more worthy of attention, they inadvertently reveal a glaring inability to offer genuine empathy, that beautiful human quality of truly seeing and hearing another person's pain. Empathy, my friends, is a quality far more valuable, far more connecting than any victory in some imaginary suffering contest. Their need to one-up you in hardship actually showcases a poverty of spirit, not a richness of experience they might imagine it portrays. So what do? How do we navigate this tricky, emotionally draining dynamic? Here's the truth, and it's a powerful one. You cannot change this person. You cannot force them to see the impact of their words or to suddenly develop the empathy they lack. But what you can do, and what you must do, is protect your own precious emotional well-being. This is where your wisdom, your discernment, and your healthy boundaries come into glorious play, my friends. This is you taking back your power. I want to encourage you today to become incredibly discerning, wonderfully selective about who you share your struggles with. Not everyone in your orbit has earned the sacred right to hear your vulnerable truths, to be invited into the tender spaces of your heart. Seek out those friends, those colleagues, those loved ones who have proven themselves to be true havens of support, who offer genuine empathy, who listen with an open heart, and who know how to hold space for your feelings without making it about themselves. These are your people. And when you do encounter this Misery Olympics champion, resist the urge to get drawn into their game. You don't need to engage in a debate about whose pain is worse. You don't need to validate their one-upmanship with a lengthy response. A simple, brief acknowledgement. I hear that, or that sounds tough, followed by a graceful disengagement, a gentle pivot in the conversation, or even respectfully excusing yourself, is often all that's needed. Your peace, your emotional equilibrium, is far too paramount to sacrifice in such fruitless exchanges. Ultimately, empower yourself with this knowledge. Your struggles are valid, just as they are. Your feelings matter profoundly. You don't need anyone else's validation or comparison to make them real. Share your heart, share your burdens, but do so with those who will honor them, who will meet your vulnerability with kindness and respect, not with competition. Guard your heart, protect your peace, and choose your confidants with the wisdom that comes from knowing your own worth. That, my friends, is not weakness. That is true, unshakable strength. All right, now let's talk about something that can truly sting, something that can catch you right off guard, especially when you're basking in the glow of a well-earned achievement. It's that moment, that almost imperceptible shift, when someone you thought was in your corner, perhaps even a work friend, suddenly grows distant. One day you're sharing coffee and dreams. The next, there's a coolness, an unspoken space between you that wasn't there before your big win. It's like a subtle dimming of their light towards you, just as yours begins to shine a little brighter. This, my friends, is a telltale sign, a quiet whisper of envy that can be more confusing than outright confrontation, because it leaves you wondering, what did I do? And what I know for sure is that this withdrawal, this sudden emotional or professional distance, is rarely, if ever, about something you've done wrong. It's often a reflection of their own internal landscape, their own journey, their own insecurities. When they see your success, it might inadvertently shine a spotlight on what they feel is lacking in their own lives, or the goals they haven't yet reached. It's not that they're necessarily bad people, but sometimes the brightness of your star can make others feel the shadows of their own unmet aspirations a little more keenly. It's a human reaction, albeit a challenging one for both sides of the equation, a silent acknowledgement of different paths diverging. The pain of this particular kind of distancing can cut deep, can't it? Especially if this coworker was someone you confided in, someone whose support you valued, someone you genuinely liked and respected. It feels like a quiet rejection, a subtle betrayal almost, when their congratulations feel hollow, or their presence becomes scarce right when you're celebrating. You might find yourself replaying conversations, searching for a misstep, a slight, anything to explain this new chill in the air. This is where we have to be so very gentle with ourselves and understand that their retreat is more about their internal compass than any external action on your part. It's a difficult truth, but a liberating one. So the first step here is recognizing this pattern not as a personal failing, but as a signal of their own internal struggle. It's about them, not you. Their distance is a message, perhaps not even consciously sent, about their discomfort, their envy, their inability at that moment to fully share in your joy, because it highlights something within themselves. Understanding this doesn't make it less hurtful, perhaps, but it does shift the narrative from what's wrong with me to what might they be going through. And that right there is the beginning of wisdom, the beginning of navigating this with grace, and most importantly, protecting your own precious spirit. Now, when this distance first appears, oh, the confusion it can sow in your heart. You might start to second-guess yourself, wondering, was I too loud about my success? Did I unknowingly make them feel small? This self-doubt is a natural first response because we're wired for connection, and a sudden disconnection feels like an alarm bell. You might even feel a pull to shrink a little, to dim your own light, just to make them feel more comfortable again. But let me tell you, that is not your path. That is not your truth. Your success is something to be celebrated, something you've worked hard for, and it deserves its moment in the sun. undiminished by anyone else's discomfort. The most powerful thing you can do in this situation is to refuse to internalize their behavior as a judgment on your worth or your achievements. This is crucial. Their withdrawal, their quiet coolness, is their story, not yours. Your story is one of accomplishment, of growth, of reaching new heights. Hold on to that. Remind yourself of the late nights, the extra effort, the passion you poured into your work. Don't let their inability to celebrate with you tarnish the shine of your own victory. This is where your inner strength, that deep well of self-assurance we all must cultivate, truly comes into play, protecting your joy. Then comes the gentle, sometimes difficult act of letting go. And I mean letting go, not with anger, not with resentment, but with a quiet understanding, maybe even a touch of compassion. You can't force someone to be happy for you. You can't make them stay close if they choose to pull away. Trying to bridge that gap when they are the ones creating it will only deplete your energy that you need for your next brilliant move. So you let them go, you release them from the expectation of being your cheerleader, and you do it with a sense of peace, knowing you're making space for those who genuinely can and will celebrate with you. And throughout this process, this is so important, maintain your professionalism, your kindness, your grace. Don't let their distance provoke you into coolness or negativity in return. Continue to be the collaborative, respectful colleague you've always been. Say good morning, offer help when appropriate within your professional boundaries, be polite. This isn't about pretending the distance isn't there. It's about choosing to operate from your highest self, regardless of how others are behaving. Your consistent kindness, even in the face of their withdrawal, speaks volumes about your character. And ultimately, that's the legacy you're building every single day. You know, sometimes what feels like a loss, this distancing from a colleague after your success, can actually be a hidden gift. Yes, a gift. Think of it this way. It's a self-filtering mechanism. It helps you see more clearly who is genuinely in your corner, who truly wishes you well, and who might have been riding your coattails or simply wasn't equipped to handle your ascent. It's like the tide going out, revealing who and what is truly anchored in your life. This clarity, while sometimes initially painful, is invaluable as you continue to grow and achieve even greater things in your career and in your life. This newfound clarity allows you to then consciously, and oh so wisely, focus your precious energy on those relationships that do nurture and support you. Pour into the colleagues who offer genuine congratulations, who ask engaging questions about your success, who are inspired by it rather than intimidated. These are your people. These are the connections that will fuel your next success, that will offer a soft place to land when challenges arise. By redirecting your energy from trying to understand or change the distant colleague, you invest it where it will truly flourish, creating a positive feedback loop of support and mutual upliftment. And let's talk about the power of kindness, not just as a professional courtesy, but as a shield and a testament to your unwavering character. When you continue to act with integrity and warmth, even when faced with coolness or distance, you're not doing it for them, you're doing it for you. You're reinforcing your own values, your own commitment to being a person of substance. This consistent grace becomes a quiet form of strength, an unshakable core that others will notice and respect, even if the distant colleague never acknowledges it. Your peace of mind is paramount, and kindness is a powerful preserver of that inner peace. Ultimately, your success, your achievements, your light. They are yours to own, to cherish, and to continue cultivating unapologetically. Don't let the withdrawal of one or even a few individuals cause you to doubt your path or dim your shine. Let them go, with grace. Bless them on their journey, and then you turn right back to your own, with your head held high, your heart open, and your spirit ready for all the good that is still to come. Your joy is your responsibility, and it's too precious to be tethered to someone else's inability to share in it. Shine on, my friends, shine on. Now we arrive at a sign that, let me tell you, can be one of the hardest to acknowledge, one that can truly shake your faith in the goodness of people if you're not careful. It's that deeply uncomfortable, soul-stirring realization that there might be someone in your workspace, a colleague, who doesn't just feel a pang of envy, but who actively, perhaps even secretly, wants to see you slip. They're not just distant, they're watching, almost waiting for a misstep, a stumble, a failure. This isn't just about them not celebrating your wins, it's about them quietly, or sometimes not so quietly, hoping for your losses. It's a tough pill to swallow, I know. This desire to see you falter often stems from a place of profound insecurity and deep-seated envy, a kind of envy that is curdled into something more pointed, more malicious. It's rarely, if ever, truly personal in the way it feels. It's not about you as a person, as much as it is about what your success, your competence, your light represents to them. It might be a reflection of their own frustrated ambitions, their own feelings of inadequacy, or a competitive spirit that has gone sour. Their wish for your stumble is a desperate attempt to level the playing field in their own mind, to ease their own discomfort by seeing you brought down a peg. How does this manifest? Oh, it can be insidious. It might be in the subtle way they highlight any tiny mistake you make, blowing it out of proportion. It could be the faintest smirk when you're facing a challenge, or a conspicuous lack of support when you most need it. They might be the ones who are quick to spread a rumor or a piece of negative gossip, or who seem to take a little too much pleasure in any setback you encounter. You might catch them asking leading questions, probing for weaknesses, or subtly undermining your efforts to others. It's a pattern of behavior that, once you see it, is hard to unsee, and it can truly chill you to the bone. Recognizing this in someone you share your professional life with, someone you see day in and day out, can be incredibly disheartening. It can make you question the environment you're in, and it can, if you let it, create a sense of unease or even paranoia. The emotional toll is real. It's one thing to deal with indifference. It's another entirely to sense that someone is actively hoping for your missteps. This is where your discernment, your inner wisdom, and your commitment to your own path become your greatest allies. We have to face this truth, not to dwell in it, but to navigate it with strength and clarity. When you become aware that someone might be wishing for your downfall, the very first, most crucial step is to shield your spirit. You must consciously decide that their negativity, their ill will not penetrate your belief in yourself, your abilities, or your right to succeed. This is your sacred ground, your inner sanctum of self-worth, and you are its fiercest protector. Their desire for your failure is a reflection of their own inner turmoil, not a prophecy about your future. Don't you dare give their negativity the power to shape your reality or dim your aspirations. Stand firm in your truth, in your competence, in the journey you are on. Practically speaking, shielding your spirit involves creating intentional boundaries with this individual. This means limiting your interactions as much as professionally possible. Keep conversations brief, focus strictly on work matters, and avoid sharing personal information or vulnerabilities with them. They have shown you through their actions or their energy that they are not a safe harbor for your hopes or your struggles. So you don't offer them ammunition. You don't give them insight into your worries or your plans. It's not about being rude, it's about being wise, about protecting your energy and your peace of mind, which are essential for your continued success. This is where the concept of growing wisely truly comes into its own. It means you operate with awareness. You see what's happening, but you don't become consumed by it. You don't let it turn you cynical or make you suspicious of everyone. Instead, you become more discerning. You learn to read the currents in your workplace, to understand the dynamics at play, without letting them pull you under. Wisdom here is about navigating the waters with skill and foresight, knowing where the rocks are, but keeping your eyes fixed on your destination, on your own bright horizon. And in those moments when their negativity feels particularly sharp, draw strength from your own integrity, from the solid foundation of your hard work and good intentions. Remind yourself of who you are, what you stand for, and the value you bring. Their desire to see you slip cannot erase your accomplishments or diminish your character unless you allow it to. Let your actions, your professionalism, and your continued success be your unwavering response. Your inner compass, tuned to your own values and goals, is far more powerful than their misdirected hopes for your failure. Trust that. Now here's a powerful shift in perspective, a way to turn this difficult situation on its head. What if, instead of letting their desire for your failure discourage you, you allowed it to become a strange, unexpected source of fuel for your determination? What if their negativity became the grit in the oyster that helps you create your pearl? When you know someone is watching for you to stumble, it can ignite a fire within you to stand taller, to work smarter, to be even more meticulous, more excellent in everything you do. Not to prove them wrong necessarily, but to prove yourself right, to affirm your own capabilities. This understanding empowers you to focus with even greater intensity on your own path, your own goals, your own continuous improvement. You channel that energy, not into worrying about them or engaging in their drama, but into your projects, your learning, your growth. You become so engrossed in building your success story that their sideline commentary fades into insignificant noise. You keep your eyes on your prize, on the impact you want to make, on the legacy you are creating. This unwavering focus is a powerful repellent to negativity and a magnet for positive outcomes, for more and more success. And here is the beautiful truth. The ultimate way to outsmart someone who wants to see you slip is not through retaliation, not through confrontation, not by playing their games. Oh no, it is through your unapologetic, undeniable, and ever-expanding success and growth. It's by continuing to shine, to achieve, to evolve into the best version of yourself. Your thriving is the most powerful statement you can make. It demonstrates that their negativity has no hold over you, that their wishes have no power to derail your destiny. You simply rise above it, carried by your own momentum and your commitment to excellence. So, let this be an invitation to view even this painful reality as an opportunity for profound resilience and wisdom. Every challenge, even one as disheartening as a colleague wishing you ill, can teach you something valuable about yourself and about navigating the complexities of human interaction. Use it to sharpen your discernment, to strengthen your resolve, and to deepen your commitment to your own journey. Keep growing, keep learning, keep shining your light even brighter. Because ultimately, your trajectory is determined by your choices, your efforts, and your spirit, not by anyone else's hidden hopes or fears. So, we've walked this path together, haven't we? We've looked at these signs, these sometimes subtle, sometimes glaring indications of envy in the workplace. And now, the question that sits in the air, the one that truly matters is, what now? What do you do when you recognize these shadows in your own life, in your own sacred workspace, that place where you pour so much of your talent and your time? The answer, my friends, is not to stoop, not to shrink, not to let their story become your story. Oh no, you don't become bitter, you don't seek revenge, and you certainly absolutely do not start acting like them, mirroring that negativity. That is not your calling. Instead, you rise, and oh how beautifully you can choose to rise, wisely, with intention, with a heart full of your own integrity. This isn't about floating above it all, pretending you're untouched by the very human emotions that these situations stir up. No, wisdom is grounded, it's real, it's practical. It means you learn to set clear, healthy boundaries, understanding where you end and others begin, protecting your energy and your focus. You maintain your professionalism, that unwavering standard of excellence you hold for yourself, no matter the undercurrents or the chaos that might swirl around you. And yes, as we've discussed, you document everything, not from a place of pettiness, but from a place of prudence, of smart self-preservation. And as you navigate, you lead with grace. Even when grace isn't offered back to you, even when kindness seems in short supply from certain quarters, you choose grace. Because your character, that beautiful tapestry of who you are, is your own to weave, and it's too precious to be stained by someone else's unhealed parts. And most importantly, my friends, the most powerful response of all, you keep growing, unapologetically. Let your talents bloom, let your ideas soar. Don't you dare dim your magnificent light to make anyone else feel more comfortable in their own shadows. For what I know for sure is this: wisdom means you see the behavior, you acknowledge it, you understand its roots, perhaps even with a measure of compassion. But you do not, under any circumstances, let it change the very essence of who you are, your inherently good and valuable character. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for spending this precious time with us here at Be Wiser Today. If this message, if these insights and shared moments have helped you to see your work environment, your colleagues, or perhaps even yourself with a little more clarity, with a little more strength, please share your thoughts, your experiences, your own hard-earned wisdom in the comments below. We learn so much from each other. And remember this always: carve it into your heart. Envy doesn't need your reaction. It doesn't thrive on your anger or your hurt. What it cannot withstand is your consistency, your unwavering commitment to your path, to your growth, to your light. Be grounded, be focused, and most of all, be wiser today.